Hi everyone, in the last video we went over the creepy theories of what happened to Jax, Pomni, Cain, and Kinger, and I promised you that the next video would focus on the rest of the characters and the digital circus as a whole. In this video you'll find out, why is Gangle always sad? Why is Ragatha not who she claims to be? What is Exit hiding? And much more. I advise you to watch this video to the end because there will be a lot of interesting things, but before watching the video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, put a like, and write a comment under the video. Well, we start our amazing digital video. The first character we are going to talk about is Ragatha. Throughout her videos, she tells us that her soul and intentions are absolutely pure and sincere. But is it really so? Whenever a new character joins the circus, she is the one who comes to their aid and explains what happened to them. Ragatha herself is a reference to Raggedy Ann, but that's just a fun fact. In one of the videos, we talked about the fact that Ragatha is the second longest resident of the circus after Kinger, and she is about 30 years old, which means she has been in the circus for a long time and has been around for a long time. From the last video, you know that Kinger has been in the circus for about 20 years. My guess is that Ragatha entered the digital circus at about 15-16 years old, which means she has been in the circus for 15 years. But then why is she in a great mental state while Kinger is completely insane? According to my theory, Ragatha is working with Cain, and her good girl image is nothing more than an illusion, and in fact all her kindness is just needed to make the new inhabitants of the circus realize that everything that happens around them is normal and there is no need to be afraid of it. And in return, she gets a quiet life in the circus. But what if none of this is true, and I have deceived you? It is true, but only partly, because now we come to the most interesting part about Ragatha. She has been in the circus for about 15 years, but the Ragatha we see now is not the same person she used to be. At the beginning of her life in the circus, she was really a kind, good, and sympathetic girl, but also very trusting and naive, which played a cruel joke on her later on. Cain has always been a cruel villain. We've talked about this many times, but he was very cruel to Ragatha in his time. When Ragatha joined the circus, she didn't understand what was happening to her like everyone else, but at some point she just accepted it and tried to move on with her life. But right at that moment, Cain decided it was time for him to up his game and started his usual bullying. Besides, as we found out in the previous video, Cain is an artificial intelligence that used to be human, so he still has human qualities. Cain fell madly in love with Ragatha, but unfortunately or fortunately, she refused to play every time, which greatly offended our administrator. And this unrequited love became the main reason for the bullying we mentioned earlier. Since Ragatha was not ready for this turn of events, it is clear that her young soul could not survive it, and in the end, Ragatha decided that she could not continue her life in the circus when the main monster of the circus, Cain, was always with her. We don't know exactly what happened to this sweet and beautiful girl, but she disappeared, and as a result, the circus began to talk about Ragatha's disappearance. In that case, all the other residents could have guessed that something weird was going on and started to riot against the amazing digital circus and against Cain. Realizing this, Cain decided to create an exact replica of Ragatha and leave her in the circus to quell the panic. However, he gave her all the character traits of the real Ragatha, but modernized them a bit. At the very least, he made the copy of Ragatha obey him unconditionally, and that all her future actions, no matter how good they might be, would be directed only to the fact that, under the guise of calming the other inhabitants, she would actually make them believe that it was impossible to leave this circus, thus frightening them even more, so that they would go mad much sooner than they should have. But what really happened to Ragatha on that unfortunate day? I have two theories. Let's agree that you will listen to them and write in the comments which one you like better. According to the first theory, Ragatha arbitrarily decided to leave the circus somehow. Maybe she could find a way out, maybe she hid somewhere, or maybe she just accidentally got into a room from which she never left. We can only guess. But the second theory really surprises me. If you think about it, Cain is not a very positive character, and what he could be capable of because of his unrequited love, we can only speculate. Maybe he was able to lure Ragatha into a room where he could continue to abuse her, or maybe he just forced Ragatha into a room where there was no way out. Or maybe Cain turned Ragatha into an abstracted monster and moved her to the basement in secret from everyone. But the creepiest theory would be that Cain did indeed put Ragatha in the basement, but for sheer satisfaction, he did it without turning her into a monster, but put her there in her normal form. Now imagine what she experienced when she was put in a place with a lot of angry monsters ready to destroy anyone who gets close to them. And what do you think about it? I am waiting for your answers in the comments. I will read them all and answer each of you. It will also be interesting to learn more about Gangle. We know very little about this character, which makes it all the more interesting to theorize about who she is and what happened to her. It is easy to guess that Gangle was very fond of theater, as her body is made of a ribbon, which is often used in theater, but her main attribute is a sad mask. Everyone remembers the moment when we were just introduced to all the characters. At that moment, Gangle had another mask that broke. But right away, you can see that this mask was the complete opposite of the mask we see next. It was a cheerful mask, and Gangle herself was very cheerful. Knowing this, we can guess that Gangle is not always so sad and moody. In her real life, Gangle had a passion for theater, which means she was a very versatile person who could play absolutely any role. But like everyone else, she was a teenager who was into computer games, including virtual reality. One day, after working at the circus, Gangle put on a VR helmet to relax and went to the damn circus, and then something terrible happened. It is Cain who decides what the new resident of the circus will look like. He gave Gangle a terrible ability, namely mood, which depends on what kind of mask she has on her face. And it was Cain who could change these masks at any time, which made Gangle suffer a lot because even when she was in a good mood, Cain could easily change her mask and spoil her mood instantly. And when Cain got tired of all this, he decided to break poor Gangle's happy mask on purpose and make her suffer forever. And the last character we haven't covered yet is Zubel. Zubel may seem overly arrogant and strict with others, but that wasn't always the case. The most surprising fact about Zubel is that it is still not known if she is a woman or a man. Let's assume for the sake of simplicity that Zubel is a woman. When she was the same as RAGATHA, namely kind and open to all the other inhabitants, but unfortunately circumstances forced her to change completely, and here are the circumstances with her we will now learn. At the beginning of her life in the circus, Zubel tried to help everyone, but in one moment, when she saw that Cain was cruelly abusing RAGATHA, she rushed to tell everyone the truth about what was happening in the circus. Cain immediately ran after her, and when he caught up with her, he divided her into many separate figures and scattered them in different places in a room. But first, he secured them in such a way that Zubel could not reassemble them on her own. This went on for many days, maybe weeks, and when Cain came back to her, she was ready to do anything to become a whole figure again, one that could live and have fun like before. But Cain wouldn't be himself if he just let our Zubel go. He had implanted a device in her that blocks out all the good and fun things in life, thus making Zubel an arrogant character who makes the other inhabitants fearful and anxious just by his presence. However, Zubel still has some of her memories, as can be seen when Cain gathers everyone together to search for gloinks. But Zubel refuses on principle because she never wants to have a relationship with Cain again. I also promised to tell you a scary theory about the digital circus in general and about Exit in particular. I can make a separate video about the whole digital circus in the future because it would take a lot of time to tell you about it now, and there is already a video on the channel about a similar topic, but I will tell you about Exit separately. Many people think that Exit is the key to freedom and the real world, but I can assure you that it is not. If you think about it, in order to go through this mysterious door, the character has to go through a huge number of terrible tests, and only then can he enter the void. And everyone thinks that by going through the void, the character will be able to come out into the real world. But unfortunately, when Cain said that the void is just his unfinished project, he wasn't lying. After all, the void is Cain's final test before turning the inhabitant of the digital circus into a monster, because it is impossible not to go completely insane there. All of this tells us that there really is no way out of the digital circus, or at least we have not been shown one. And this is the end of our video. I want to wish you good luck and success. And it's time for me to say, see you again on this channel.